I tell my friends that I'm mad. I don't deny that, because you have to be, in Singapore, I would say you have to be mad in order to go against the government. Knowing the kind of constraint that TOC would have in terms of the intimidation that we get from the government, the kind of non-assistance that the government will provide, like not issuing a press release, will call you out for any inaccuracy straight in press, and not say a friendly phone call or email. And you have to think which person in the right mind would take up this job. My study has always been on engineering, particularly in electronics. Following that, went to army and turned into a full-time regular. And it was through there that I through my regular service, 5 years, that I got a different perspective of Singapore. After that, sold insurance. Following that, went to become a fire safety engineer. And that's before my stint as an executive editor for TOC. My father, mother thinks I'm a shut-in. Because my mom and my father does not read news that much. They are not involved in politics. They are not so connected. So my father always asks my mother, like, why is my son always locked in this room doing nothing? What is he going to do with his career? So to my father, until the point where I appeared on newspaper for the criminal defamation, he has always thought me to be a shut-in. Yeah. After taking out the reins of TOC, I have made a personal decision to cut my ties with my friends. Being friends with who I met over the years through community service work and etc. Because I through my conversation with them, I know that what I'm about to get into is definitely not something that they can bear.
It's very difficult, especially in a country like Singapore, for a journalist to operate, because if you read newspapers, if you read even online websites, more than 90% of the news comes via government. It's either government or companies that are linked to government. So nearly everything comes from government, right? So if most of your news comes from government, and if they don't talk to you, then how do you operate?
I founded the Online Citizen in December 2006 together with Andrew Lowe and a few other people. From a commercial perspective, it's a failure. But TOC as a project was never intended to or packaged itself as something that was intended to be commercially viable. It was always a passion project. By a group of people that believed that an informed citizenry needed to have access to alternative views.
Hello, you fool, I love you. Come join the joyride. This is TOC News Tonight.
TOC's stories always captivated me because it always presented in a different alternative angle, and there were a couple of stories that I felt that if not for TOC, no media outlets in Singapore would have carried the story.
give our support to the rangers of Sungai Road.
Our guest tonight, we got a good one. It's Terry Shi, Editor-in-Chief of the Online Citizen. Welcome to the show, Terry.
Thank you so much, Vijay.
It's really hard to overstate how important Terry is in holding that line. He's not journalistically trained, so there are people who take issue with the journalistic quality of the content, but that's a bit beside the point because TOC was always about political expression. It was always about an independent platform and a different perspective from government-controlled news.
This is really the biggest empowerment process in civil society.
A lot of good people were with TOC, but they had to leave because of financial commitments and other commitments. It was in 2013 when this offer was popped to me by Remy, asking whether would I be interested to take up the position as an executive editor. And frankly speaking, it's quite a tall order for me, given that I have no experience in writing. If I didn't take up this appointment, I felt that TOC would just wither into history. It would just close down without anyone feeling sorry for it.
In terms of achieving what we originally set out to do, Terry's kind of living that dream. Of course, that comes at the expense of financial viability and financial sustainability. And that's a price that Terry, I think to his credit, has been paying for quite a few years since he took over at TOC.
We'll be right back.
Would you say it's biased in its reporting sometimes?
That's definitely the perception. Our original response to that has always been that TOC was there to fill a space that other media were not in. So by definition, an independent news website that wanted to reach an audience that was politically aware or wanted to be politically aware would be covering events that the pro-government mainstream media would not, and consequently be perceived to be anti-government.
I think there is a great amount of suspicion of the online media that they are trying to, maybe subvert government, because they are so used to a media that is quite submissive, right? Now suddenly you get these new players and they are not playing by your rules, right? And I think it has made worse by the government cutting them off from press conferences, from briefings. So then they become pariahs, the media pariahs, right?
The media in other countries play different roles. These roles have grown out of their different historical experiences, their political systems, and their national temperaments. They represent equally valid functions which the press fulfills in different environments.
Lee Kuan Yew, of course, was the person who started it all, by wanting to control media. Finally, it has come to the point of what I call self-censorship. So government censorship is not needed anymore because the journalists have become so attuned to the government thinking that there is a lot of self-censorship.
One value which does not fit Singapore is the theory that the press is the fourth estate. And in Singapore's experience, because of our volatile racial and religious mix, the American concept of the marketplace of ideas, instead of producing harmonious enlightenment, has from time to time led to riots and bloodshed.
On the other side, the online media, and I'm classifying them generally, who are anti-government. In everything that the government does is wrong. You know? So they are just taking the other extreme approach.
TOC does not aim to be balanced, neutral, etc. We seek to be the balance in terms of the media landscape in Singapore. We want people to carry that doubt, be critical of whatever that comes out from the papers, and with that mindset, with that objective in mind, right? It's very hard to say that, well, we want to be so-called always neutral, always giving two sides of a thing. I would say, yeah, TOC takes a opposite end, so in order to balance the media landscape in Singapore. So the criminal defamation case is about a letter that was written by a contributor named Daniel Da Costa, who wrote in the pen name Really Some. So the charge that was on me is saying that this particular line that alleged that there was corruption in the highest echelon, but the charge is referring that I'm alleging that the cabinet is corrupted. That's what the AGC has decided to charge me with, which is alleging that the cabinet members are corrupted. I already told my lawyers that I would not pay the fine. I will settle for imprisonment in lieu of the fine, because I think it's ridiculous what they're doing in terms of pinning this nonsensical charge upon me. So I'm not willing. I would rather use the money to run TOC than to pay so not to go in prison.
How long would you go? What's the maximum sentence?
2 years.
2 years?
Yeah.
Does that worry you?
No.
Not at all?
No. I'll take it as a break. Yeah. Yeah.
What are you working on today, Terry? What are you working on today?
So this is just an opinion piece about the POFMA, which is also known as the Fake News Bill.
We'll now proceed to declare the voting results. Aye 72, no 9, abstentions 3. The ayes have it. The ayes have it.
Protection from Online Falsehoods and Manipulation Bill.
POFMA is a bit of an omnibus bill in that it can be a lot of things to a lot of people. So if explained in the context of preventing foreign interference or the subversion of elections by foreign actors through the spreading of false news, that is one of the bill's objectives, and that is something that a lot of people, even in the West, might find unobjectionable.
That is why this POFMA legislation is necessary. It is an essential and important addition to our regulatory architecture that introduces a calibrated set of measures to deal with the virulence and virality of online falsehoods.
But POFMA also causes concern for those who believe in the importance of free speech.
I think this must be one of the most overused phrases. Free speech should not be affected by this bill. We are talking here about falsehoods, we are talking about bots, we are talking about trolls, we are talking about fake accounts.
TOC stand has always been that the public very well know what POFMA is about. It's just that government keep assuring that POFMA is used for a good purpose, is meant to prevent foreign intervention.
It depends on which provisions of POFMA you're looking at, but if you are concerned about free speech and you are looking at the provisions on the exercise of free speech in relation to government actors, there is some cause for concern.
It's doing a stranglehold on independent media like TOC. There are few causes that's inside the bill that I personally find really troubling, like the fact that the false statement or misleading statement that's indicated in the bill is detected by the minister. Just 3 such stories within the span of half a year could allow the minister to decide to detect that this particular platform to be named as a designated online location. And that would basically means that Singaporeans will be barred from accessing this location, and no advertiser nor subscriber can contribute to this particular site.
Do you think it has a potential for misuse?
Certainly, yes.
Why?
Well, first, the line between a false statement of fact and a false statement of opinion is not always clear. There are statements of fact that may be interwoven with statements of opinion. So it's not always that simple to say that this is a statement of fact or this is a statement of opinion.
It's really that scary that if any publication were to publish any unwarranted articles not that the government does not support, within 6 months, this government could close the site down for good.
It's to protect the government, not the people. It's to protect the government because they are the source of the biggest lies to be produced in this country. What? They control everything. They control the TV, the media, everything they control. So if they tell a lie, it's amplified millions of times. I became one of the first few volunteers of the Geylang Catholic Centre. What we did was to reach out to foreign workers, mainly the Malaysian workers. There was a group of garment factory women workers staying upstairs the centre, and we asked them to come down, and we started tuition classes for them. And then the centre was started in this way. Then there were volunteers coming in to help out. And then after some time, I actually also left the centre because you cannot do all this work forever. I was then more interested in the activities in the Law Society. So then I began to be involved in legislation. I felt that actually the government was making too many laws and that the Law Society was not doing its work by not discussing the bills that were presented. I didn't consider that as activism at all. To me, it was professional work. It's part and parcel of the duty of a lawyer. After all, we are educated in the law, and therefore we should have a say in what the government wants to do. Unfortunately for me, actually, I think the government, or rather Mr. Lee Kuan Yew, saw the potential in me that I was a potential troublemaker. Well, that was the beginning of all my problems, I think. This piece of artwork was given to me by my brother when I was in detention. It's a Chinese clock, stepped on it. So if the government step on you. We have no communist connection at all. By the 80s, I think communism has already died long ago already. So it's really bad allegation against us. But the newspapers, the mainstream media like the Straits Times, they faithfully reported everything the government said against us. The government has damaged our name so badly that after 30 years, we still have not recovered our good names. And that's very sad. And not only that, some of us really suffer from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and never recovered. For me, I think I can say that I've recovered, but some of them, I think at least 3 or 4 of them, are still suffering from PTSD. They don't want to talk about the past, and they have this great fear, or they have this idea that they are guilty and should be punished. I mean, it's crazy. There's a message here for me. There are no heroes, heroines, just what one wants to do for mankind. Teo Eng Seng, brother of Teo So Lang, with love and respect. Wow.
This is the first time we're having such a fundraiser at such an event. The reason for holding this fundraiser is to try to raise funds that will bring TOC, carry TOC over the next few months. If you say how much the TOC needs to run in a year, I'll put it as about 100,000 odd for annual expenditure based on the current capacity. Tonight, I don't think we can raise that amount, but it's actually just to kickstart the fundraising movement that will prepare us for the next general election.
I'd like to thank all the guests who have come here today. I think probably it's because of us not mentioning the fireworks. But in any case, I really appreciate the time taken for all of you to attend. There are just so many initiatives that TOC wants to do. It's just the lack of resources that bind our aspiration anchored in place.
The people who run such media must know to get funding is extremely difficult. We don't have people in Singapore, and when you say funding, it's of course businessmen, right? People with money, who will put money in such ventures. Basically because of fear that the government will go after them. Whether that fear is true or not, that's a different story, but there is a fear.
One more, 1, 2, Harry.
Before my entry into army, I was a staunch PAP supporter. In fact, I often argue with people, even my grandfather, when they criticize the establishment. People are saying like, why is so ungrateful? It's like because the People Action Party that Singapore is it today. That's my my belief back then. But after entering army, all that perception changed. Anyone who watched the movie Matrix, it is the same concept. It's whether you want to take the blue pill or the red pill. You can choose to stay in your fantasy land, your wonderland. But the thing is, one day reality will catch up to you. It's either you choose to open your eyes and see there's a world outside of what the media is painting to you, or you take a active role and seeing whether or not what the others has been saying so far has certain backing to it. And this is where independent media exists in order to help them to reach out to more individuals, and for readers who wants to know more to see more and read more. And I think I'll just end with that.